He's trying to mouth something to me, but I can't make it out.
This is the second video I've had to make Brad Pitt say, in his own words, pretending anyway, stop it, it's not me. Brad is back. Tell a friend. Pitt is back. To make your wallet bend. And to put you in a pit. Okay, enough of that. Sunny. Storied. Siestas. That last S in particular, ironically, gets my blood pumping. Because anywhere that has traditions of afternoon napping, it's not a place to sleep on. Do you get it? But that's not enough for this particular story. We need another S. And that S comes in the form of scams. Slithering, slippery, slimy scammers using stars from the States to swindle. Yes, Brad Pitt, aka not actually Brad Pitt, if Brad Pitt himself or any members of his team is watching this and get a whiff of Rat Boy using his name, it's not actually the real Brad Pitt. But Brad Pitt is doing up evil once again. As you may or may not know, we recently covered Brad Pitt's kidney cancer shenanigans in France, but it seems like before that incident, Brad was busy romancing. It all starts on a Brad Pitt fan site where the scammers, in a sheer twist of fate, have morphed themselves into the one and only Brad Pitt. They infiltrate the minds of the would-be victims and sow seeds that Brad Pitt would like to invest in some business ventures with the victims. These victims, who are two unnamed women, also used instant messaging platforms to exchange messages and emails with who they believed to be Brad Pitt. It is when things moved over to WhatsApp, and as I for some reason like to call it, WhatsApp, here is where Brad Pitt promised both women that he'd be taking them down a lovely venture of life with them, promising them a relationship and a future together. That future together is separately, by the way, not that Brad is going to perform some kind of throuple and 3 people are going to live happily ever after. No, separately, one woman for Brad and the other woman for Brad on the other days. I'm not really sure how it would work. Mr. Brad, you might be a bit too busy for that. After both women had made several bank transfers to who they believed was Brad Pitt, one of the victims clocked onto something, realized, hey, this might be a scam, and went forward to the police. Now at this point, I'm glad someone was able to see some semblance of sense after a while. However, listen to the following figures. Before realizing that they were actually in the middle of being scammed, and before the investigation could even begin, one woman had already lost 175,000 euros. The other victim in this story, she had lost 150,000 euros. Respectively, we're looking at figures of $195,000 and $167,000 at the time of this reporting. This brought the total lost to 325,000 euros, or $362,000. It was in August 2023 when the first victim came forward about discovering that she had been scammed that the investigation begun and was dubbed Operation Brelina. The investigation was conducted in cooperation with several Spanish law enforcement agencies and spanned 8 provinces, including Malaga, Granada, and Vizcaya. The investigation was later expanded due to authorities uncovering similar scams along the way. These other scams had even led the authorities to seize 85,000 euros that the scammers had accumulated, again from said scams. Alongside the money seized, 5 residential homes were searched, and mobile phones, bank cards, and even evidence of organized planning of the scams were found during these searches. The investigation also uncovered that several bank accounts were opened with fake documents, and lo and behold, money mules were used to help launder money across the network. A total of 5 people were arrested, 2 of which were allegedly the ringleaders of the entire operation, and another 10 people were questioned and investigated throughout the process. It is at this point that the Guardia Civil of the Costa del Sol had dismantled an organized network of Brad Pitt impersonating scammers. Now, once again on these stories, I've picked out a direct quote from the statement that I'd like to read out and share. You guys give your thoughts as well. I'll give my thoughts. In order to find their victims, the cyber criminals studied their social networks and put together a psychological profile of them, discovering as a result that both women were vulnerable people suffering from depression and a lack of affection. Now, I completely understand that depression can significantly alter the way a person behaves and thinks, and romance scam victims in particular are blinded by affection. Given the lack of affection that they may be experiencing in their life, perhaps they are going through a traumatic loss and affection has dwindled, or in general, they have a hard time finding a lover. And let me know in the comments, when a celebrity gets involved, I find it increasingly difficult to find sympathy for the victim. I can draw the line at regular, degular, schmegular people approaching you, whispering sweet nothings in your ear, and victims falling head over heels, but when it concerns a celebrity, I struggle to believe that you are living in this real world. In fact, I'd go as far to say that it's just sad. It's the best word I can come up with. It's just sad that celebrities are able to swoop in such a way. Of course, it highlights delusion, but I also think it highlights quite a sad notion that a lot of victims have such bad self-esteem issues that they truly believe a celebrity would want anything to do with them. A representative of Brad Pitt, of course, came out following the news to say that it's awful that scammers would take advantage of the strong connections that people have with celebrities, and that it is an important reminder to not respond to unsolicited online outreach. The representative mentioning the strong connection that people have with celebrities is a personal pet peeve, I guess you could say, of mine, in that I completely understand fanboying, so to speak, over celebrities and their work. You're a big fan of it, I completely understand. But I wish more people were able to distinguish being a fan and being a lover. Putting aside the Brad Pitt aspect anyway, no celebrity is going to reach out to you to want you and them to invest together, because I'm sure they got friends that have the big moolahs that they'd be able to reap the rewards of if they go into business with them rather than you. But back to the pet peeve stuff, I completely understand being a fan of someone. Me with wrestling, for example, I'm a fan of wrestling. I'm a fan of, let's say, John Cena, right? But there will come a point in my life when potentially John Cena might reach out to me and want some cash, moolah. And I'm gonna tell John, Mr. Cena, on this occasion, actually, I can't see you. Now, not only do you become the potential victim of a scam if you do take your connection with celebrities to dangerous levels, but you also have, and we've seen many stories, you get the people who take it, of course, to the dangerous level of actually stalking the celebrity. So please, everyone, if you do know someone who perhaps does need some professional support in understanding that fanfare of a celebrity is best kept to a minimum at, sort of virtual arm's length, please get them the support that they need. Now, of course, I'd love to have known more about this story in terms of the personal messages that both victims received, or why did Brad Pitt need all this money? What cancer did the scammer pick out of a hat on this occasion? Or what business ventures did Brad Pitt have his eyes on? I'd love to get involved, but the most important thing is that this was all brought to a halt before, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because it's still a massive ton of money, but before this reached the millions of dollars. Hopefully you guys took something away from this and learnt, and I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of this, but for those who perhaps are not aware, scamming and scammers, it's not always just one person sitting in their doo-doo stained boxers, perhaps in their room, perhaps in an internet cafe of some kind, but sometimes it goes far and beyond and becomes organized networks. But I also hope you've learnt that Brad Pitt, please, is not going around romancing a bunch of European women. And if you think you have a chance because you're based in the USA or Canada or something like that, please, stop it. I've also just remembered that there was a comment that we covered in the tantalizing talk section of the reactions of Scamfish that we do. If you guys remember the comment that said it's always Americans that seem to get scammed, this wouldn't happen to a European, but we've seen in the past few stories that I've covered of these shorter styles, it's just Europeans coming out the wazoo. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you next time. If you do want to watch the other Brad Pitt romance shenanigan, it'll be up there. If you want to watch something else, I'll chuck it down here besides Joey the dog, and get yourself a Joey the dog rather than believing a celebrity wants anything to do with you. Bye. Just to reiterate, Brad Pitt was not actually involved, okay?